All right, Baba Yaga here. Gonna go over the couple of trades from Friday, and and really, there's kind of two tales of a trader in this video, and one is a trader that is excited about having a good plan and having um, confidence to lean into that plan. And one is a trader who is so confident or excited about the plan uh, that he jumps the gun. So we've got an excited trader who can't be patient. That I displayed those characteristics a little bit on Friday, and then and then yeah, and then the trader who has a good plan and is patient and sticks to it. And what's interesting is this recording is part of the recording from Friday, and there's a couple of little areas where you can just see a little a little falter in the discipline. And so it might be a little exposing, but I'd like to share it with you, and hopefully it helps both myself to have to process back through this, and then it also maybe helps someone in the room who finds themselves maybe doing this a little more often than they would like. I know for me, uh, I like to stay disciplined and execute inside certain context. And yeah, so let's take a look at it. So this is Friday. This is a recording from Friday. I mean, this is just a few minutes after the market opens, and we're kind of looking. This screenshot is from. I keep my recording on the my right hand screen, and it just shows these volume distribution areas that I had marked up, and I went through that in our Discord, talked through it. I think I have a video about it, and it can be helpful to kind of categorize or mark out the edges of kind of volume distributions coming into the open. And that's what these orange bands stand for. So let's take a look at this first entry here, and this first entry, nothing terribly wrong with it. The risk is actually pretty tight. 5 points. Normally, I take about 10. If you look at this big node that we built out, and then we just peaked above with very little interest, and that's what triggered me in to short back through to the bottom part of this distribution, in hopes that if sellers push, they would be pushing back through the open, and then we get kind of that early unwind. And the idea, the thesis for Friday was to look for shorts, to look for sell interest in these upper area. Now there's an area above this from 404 to 419. So slightly above this. In a minute, you'll see it. And so as far as my plan pre-market goes, any real push above 80 kind of rolls us up into that next distribution. But you're gonna see that this entry invalidation point, I abandoned that idea, which was the right idea. End up thinking to myself, this can be a 2R trade. I can double my risk here, and then my profits, my R to R will still be, plenty big to justify that risk. And not according to plan, not part of the deal. So let's take a look at it. You can see 10 points is my normal risk, and then I thought, well, we could push into that a little bit. So I think I'm 71 to 81. So now we're like at 15 points. So 1.5R. So my idea, let's go ahead and move those targets out a little bit to some of these other zones. Quickly, we found a pretty thick bid, and I was like, oh, look at all that kind of get stuff down in here. So then you can see I've slid the TP up to 20 points, so 2R trade. And then I have this close exit. This is just a little bit on the emotional side on the TPs here. So you'll see this play out. And I thought, okay, we got away with that. Look above, and boom, we got buyers coming across. The tape speed picking up is one thing that I pay attention to when we start to move into a new area. If we start getting some speed like that, we're not done. So that was tough. But then you can see it's not really productive, and we're staying pretty thin, which we're also toying with the top of if the volume profile was drawn for the inventory, I think like from overnight and today so far, that gives you this look above this zone and fail coming back in into or out of balance or value. So that entry was much tidier. Moving the stop to a normal or 15 points, not ideal for me, but um, 10 to 15 points is okay. And I've noticed in the first few minutes of the market that 15 points can kind of allow me a little bit of leeway. So I'm starting to see a little more of what we want to see. So I go ahead and get that stop to break even. If we push back into that tail up there, then the anticipation is that we're going to go. And then you can see right back to with a great idea of pushing back into that tail, we're going to go. I am struggling to commit to that because I don't want to miss out on this if we just peak and then dump. So what would have been more reasonable is just the normal 10-point stop and let the trade work. That's what I do 90% of the time. Feeling like I really want to be a part of this is what constituted that. Fast forward, the trade is starting to pan out, and now I'm getting antsy for take profits. I'm trying to stick to, like OR mid and this bottom thing. Some guys in the chat started talking about taking profit into OR high, so I thought let's go ahead and do that too. You can see the trade starting to kind of mature now, I would say. Building some acceptance inside of OR, pushing down. I thought, well, man, if you have a little resistance area here, let's peel some profit off in there. So we get that picked up at 22. And now we're pushing lower. And this trade ultimately, I think, pans out to get some off at 304. That would have been a fantastic add. OR high, test and fail. Would have probably brought my average into this 380s area or so if I added a little bit back. So maybe not the best add it would have been. I don't know. Either one of those would have been addable. Right in front of my stop, and there's discipline starting to show back up. And that discipline is, if we take a stop here, we can always get back in below overnight open and range low off the backside of maybe a test of this. So discipline kind of settled back out once I cleaned up that first stop. Then it's easier to stick to it. Get a nice washout, some chop around. This fast forwards a little bit, same trade. And I think this is right around 100 points here. that I was targeting. I think we get filled on that. Yep. So we did get filled on that. So I mean that's the trade sequence. That's really tidy, and I could have waited for this peak above this inventory to enter. Um, so let's look at what we had showing up. In this area, we had a fast tape that pushed above OR. um, Lots of large orders came in. Then we get kind of something that we could use more as a signal, which is aggressive buy into very non-productive, non-producing delta, pull back an aggressive buy to save it, and then a retest of that aggressive buy with no acceptance. So really, if I would have just been patient and waited, I could have taken that entry there and then either added here or here for this move down. And again, that's from, you know, 380s to almost 280s. So essentially, like for me, that's a full sequence trade. Essentially looking for kind of um, like two rotations down, and that would kind of qualify that. So then we take another entry in this area. I think maybe, yeah. So let's look at this. So we get into this area, and we've got signals firing left and right. At this point, I'm thinking, and there's that 404 to 419 area. So this comes back to sticking to the plan. My entry could have been much better if I would have respected my inventory bands and just said, hey, if we push up into 404 to 410, then that 1.5 hour, that 15-point stop trade is really a part of the plan, and I can do it. I can do that there. Instead, what you see is a fear-based short entries, one, two, three of them in this consolidation like area right here, where we clearly have buyers trying to stuff these sellers. Now, my entries roughly came off of these large market sells that I felt were well positioned, but I can make a great case for what I was doing there. But we can see just in the execution of that it was a non-committed idea with too tight a stop, and was really an attempt to not have to take any drawdown and be a part. Just not good. Much easier to wait for what? So if we think of this like a distribution of very high interest, a real clean, aggressive break out of that can yield kind of a good breakdown trade, which is what we ended up getting here at 380. So this last push up to no avail with nothing special showing up showed me that the interest wasn't there, and so that trade became pretty safe and easy to take. And that was 380, and then that trade essentially goes a full sequence as well. So if we just look here, that trade goes kind of one rotation, and then kind of two rotations, if that makes sense. So that's like a just a clean, you know, I mean, that's 420 to 320 and 360 to essentially 260. So kind of two nice sequences. So we get that same kind of look, right? Kind of like two legs of like sell aggression. Boom, boom. And then we consolidate, finally see this boom, boom. And that's really, that's like a full sequence for me. that gets me to 100 points. That gets me on a runner. That gets me some TPs along the way. um, at like 10, 20, 40, 60, and 100 on different batches. I think I was trading 6 lots in this sequence. So, again, a couple of things to take away. Not the tidiest of trading, still escaped very green on the day. And the takeaway is to just wait. I've never been frustrated with myself or had poor performance by waiting for something to set up well. I have missed some trades, but that doesn't that's not a realized loss. I have realized losses rushing trades or getting chopped around in anticipation of something. So instead of anticipating kind of blindly or trying to join these aggressive shorts, but not leaning on some of the clear tools that I've built to help me with that, it'll cost a few stops. Now, they were smaller stops with tight stops, and I was trying to, whatever. But more of the story is if you have a plan and clear distributions of where you want to take part and do business, wait for those to set up well. And then when they do, will have saved you the mental capital of this kind of situation or this kind of situation, and the P&L capital of not feeling like, oh man. So for instance, if this had been the first entry, then I would have been much more confident and comfortable to hold more size longer. Same story for this. So this not only cost me the stops, but then it cost me mentally kind of letting my bracket work. But I mean, it worked out. But thought it would be a good thing just to cover that, kind of that mental side versus waiting for those clean setups. Hopefully you find this helpful. We'll see you in the Discord. Thanks.